massive actions versus small actions. I think I want the results. I want progress. And I think by taking these massive actions, that I'm going to get the progress faster. But then I end up quitting 3-4 weeks down the line, and then I don't get the progress.
That's right.
And so one thing that he highlights about progress, which was interesting, and why it seems to come slowly at first, he says, you expect to make progress in a linear fashion, and it's frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first days, weeks, and even months. It doesn't even feel like you're going anywhere. When you finally break through, people will call it an overnight success. The outside world only sees the most dramatic event rather than all that preceded it. But you know that it's the work you did long ago when it seemed that you weren't making any progress that makes the jump today possible. And I thought that was really, really good to remind yourself. Right? I think of Darren, for instance. It's easy to look at Darren's life and say he was handed a multi-million-dollar contract at 21, right? He was this NFL star. He had this massive career. And it's easy to think, okay, well, Darren was an overnight success. At 21, he was handed millions of dollars. Well, what was Darren doing at the age of 7? He was out running sprints. He was putting in work. So from 7 to 21, that's a lot of time. So yes, from an outsider's perspective, it looked like all of a sudden at such a young age, he's handed all this money. But he was laying the groundwork at 7 years old.
And the overnight success concept I love this. I absolutely love it. And we had Aaron Watson on, and I brought this up in the past, is he has a song called Fence Post, right? And he talks about how, he loves playing country music, and he went to Nashville and he was told he'll never make it. He doesn't have it. And so he just kept plugging away. 10 years later, that same record exec that told him he wasn't going to make it is like, oh my gosh, you're a big deal. Like, we want to sign you. We want to do this. You're an overnight success. He goes, yeah, I was an overnight success in just over 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah, that's
and it's so true. And think about, and I'm going to speak, and I'm going to brag on you a little bit, is think about your first 3.5 years in real estate. And that's what we do on our day job, 3.5 years. It was a freaking grind, and it sucked. Cold calls. I mean, you and I don't think there's anything you and I both hate more than cold calls. And we used to lock each other in a room and be like, hey, you want to take this one, Ben? No, Ty, you got it. Yeah. Ben, you want to take it?
We're making, we're making this argument as the phone's ringing. You got it. No, you got it.
They're literally calling us back. But it's one of those things. And then now there's 2 years that you've been a top producer at our company. 2 years in a row. You've been, and you kind of, and I'm sure for you, you're like, wait, I don't feel like I've done anything different.
No, I still feel lost.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is like, but you laid the foundation. It's okay. Hey, I'm going to be on top of answering emails. I'm going to be on top of turning around assignments. I'm going to be, I say assignments, jobs. I'm going to be on top of servicing clients. I'm going to be on top of, surveying the market. I'm going to be all these things that we did at the very beginning. You just keep doing all these small little habits that you created, in the office. Now you're a top producer in the company. And it's one of those overnight deals. You don't realize it until you're there. And it's the 1% that makes a difference. It's the 1% change. And to relate it, and we've talked about this before too, is you talk about if I shoot to lose 1% of my body weight a month, okay? And I'll just use my instance. Okay, if I lose 2.5 pounds a month at the end of the year.
Which, by the way, doesn't sound like a whole lot, right?
No.
2.5 pounds a month, it's like, no, that's easy. That's nothing.
Yeah, no. But if I'm disciplined enough to make sure I take care of that 1%, the small habits, 2.5 pounds a month, now I'm looking at 33 pounds at the end of the year. 1 year, it's 33 pounds.
That's a big difference. Huge difference.
If you look at somebody that lost 30 pounds, you're going to be like, I kind of almost don't recognize you.
Yes.
Like my wife over the last year has lost 15 pounds, not even 15 pounds, like 12 pounds. Sorry, babe. Putting your business all on the streets. But like literally people come up to her. We're with New Year's. This is not a name drop. So we're with Romo for New Year's. We've done it for 8 years now. That's kind of our tradition. It's the only time I see him, New Year's. And he literally walks up. He goes, okay, who are you? I don't even recognize you. Because of a 12-pound difference.
Right.
If the 1%, and she was really focused on, hey, I'm going to focus on 1%. And it's one of the podcasts I think you talked about weight loss. Like, hey, don't pick these grandiose goals. Like, hey, I gotta lose 15 pounds. No, focus on losing 1 pound a month.
Yeah.
2 pounds a month, whatever
Huge
it
difference.
is. And it is a game changer. It really is. The 1% makes a difference.
I've heard it connected to, it's like the hockey stick effect. Have you ever heard that metaphor before? If you think of a hockey stick, it's got that real long, we'll call it a shaft, and then it leads up into whatever the bottom part. There's a huge increase. So if you were lay a hockey stick on the ground, there's a huge
I was like,
massive
okay, is it
incline.
standing up or is it laying down?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
okay.
a huge massive incline in the curve of the hockey stick.
Yep.
And that's what they talk about success, which we talked about a second ago. You do all these things for so long and you never see any effect from it. Or you don't think. You never see any progress. And then all of a sudden, because you laid that groundwork for 2, 3, 4, 10 years before, all of a sudden you take off all of a sudden, and it looks like you were overnight success. But the point is that you were laying the groundwork for years and years and years. So I think that's where a lot of us get hung up on progress is after 3 weeks of this new diet, we expect to see all this weight loss, and that's just not the case. What you're doing those first 3 weeks is you're establishing habits. You're establishing fundamentals that are going to, in 6 months, make the big difference.
And I think of just think of entrepreneurs, and we got David over here who's exactly that and is in that phase. As an entrepreneur, it's all these little battles that you win along the way. All these little habits that you create, these systems that you put in place. Like it may not, you putting your team through a weekly training, you're not going to see the immediate goals, the immediate results of that. But now when you've got 100 employees and you're all doing it and it's translating to 100+ million in revenue as a company, that's when back in the start, when you had 3 people on your team and you were just pouring into them, that's when it translates.
Yeah, that's right.